All right. Today we're going to talk about property owner's insurance. So again, this is one of those things that I wish I would have known about coming out of high school. Really had no idea about this because why would I? Why would I care, right? So when you do homeowner's insurance, it's a policy to cover your home and protect against other risks. So when you say that you have homeowner's insurance, it's not only your home, but remember when we talked about having to fix the sidewalk in front of your house because it's a land or a town thing? That could prevent, or this kind of insurance would help you out if Molly's running and she trips over your sidewalk and falls and breaks her arm. Okay? Molly could if she proved that the reason she fell was because of your sidewalk. Yes.
Isn't it everything like from your sidewalk, the middle of your sidewalk towards your house is yours, but in the middle of the sidewalk towards the street is it just the town?
I don't believe that's true.
Because,
No, because
the
what if-
town redid our driveway, like the curb of our driveway for free because it was terrible, and they were redoing like Community Street for some odd reason, I don't know. And then they just redid our driveway for free. The state sent us, or the city sent us a receipt or something for some reason.
That's probably because you live across from the school, they don't want to be in an eyesore either.
I don't know about that, but because then you would be saying that you wouldn't be responsible to like mow that little section. You know what I'm saying?
I don't read it, redo it, but the city just like redid it.
But maybe it was because it was close to like a drainage or something, so they had to physically dig up part of your driveway.
Yeah.
And so when they redid that, they just redid the a portion of it.
Maybe when they were building the road, they also messed up your driveway.
Maybe, right. Okay, so here we go. This is what's important about this section is to learn these vocabulary stuff. All right?
Wait a second. So if the sidewalk is yours and you don't want it there, can you just take it out and just not put a sidewalk there?
No, I don't think you can do that.
No,
You're
because-
just gonna rip it up.
Just grass.
Yeah, and just put like tons of.
They're just gonna sidewalk just stop.
That I don't know. That's a good question. Yes.
Just some steps down.
You can't put turf over it. Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
What about like some of those places?
What?
The sidewalk just like stops, and then it continues like.
Yeah,
20 feet later.
sometimes the sidewalk stops and then,
Then
farther
does
up
that
you
all
go.
the time.
It does?
yeah.
I think that's just because nobody wants to build a sidewalk.
See, like, but if, do you have to?
There's a car.
I feel like in certain areas you have to, but others you
I feel like
I would say she's probably
I feel
right.
like the city could build like the sidewalk if it wanted to, but if it's not there yet.
But then you're responsible for it because
Like
it's on
Sam
your.
and Allen don't have a sidewalk right now, but I don't know if they'll make one.
Really? All right, so here we go. Basic coverage. The first one is dwelling. This is where you actually live. So your house is your dwelling. Other structures, your garage, maybe if you have like a utility shed, those are other structures. So again, now, when you sign this policy, each individual policy would have these little sections on it. All right? There's personal property, the contents of your home. So why would you want this portion of it? You get robbed, you get have a fire, okay? That portion of your homeowner's insurance would cover that. And it would show each one of those sections.
If you have your home, then you buy like one of those sheds from like somewhere, and then you put it on there, they're gonna charge you for that?
If you want to have it insured. So you don't necessarily have to do that. But then if you locked it and it got broke into and somebody stole your lawnmower out of that, you could send that into your insurance and say, hey, I want you to pay for it because it's not insured. You know what I'm saying? And so then yours would fluctuate up or down depending on how much you want on your policy. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Additional living expense, extra cost of living when you cannot live in your home because it was damaged. So you can have this on yours. So you have termites. You have,
Hurricane, asbestos.
okay, asbestos is a good one. Mold. Okay, so if you had this as a part of your policy and you had to move out for a week or a month and live in a hotel, that would help pay for that expense. Make sense? Okay? But again, you'd have to, actually have this looked at. Personal liability protects you if someone gets hurt on your property. So again, what we just talked about. Molly's running, she trips over your hose across your turf because she doesn't have sidewalk and she breaks her arm. That portion of my policy pays for Molly to go get an x-ray and all that good stuff. Okay? Medical payments to others. Okay, so that's kind of what we talked about for medical expenses for others who were hurt on your property, not including your family members. So you cannot use your homeowner's insurance if Tiff falls at her own house. Okay, she would have to go and use her medical insurance. Other coverages that you might want would include off-premises. This is personal property when you're away from home. So, for instance, if you went on vacation and they lost your luggage, okay, you could get, you could have a specific part of your policy cover that.
They have insurance for everything.
Yeah, basically, but you got to pay for it, right? Yeah. So they're going to tell you the face value of your policy, amount for which your home is insured. Okay, so that's what the policy would read. Then they're going to figure out each category in that. So when they say this, the personal property is usually 50%, and so on and so forth. So if your face value is $60,000 for personal property, you would get 50% of $60,000. So your policy exactly would cover you for $30,000 for personal property. That makes sense? So it's each category gets a percentage.
So it'll be like a $60,000 house, but it burns down when we do 30K.
Garbage!
Would you ever get 100%?
No.
You just don't burn your house.
Insurance people won't do that.
Whoa.
You got to remember, insurance people need to make their money.
Once you meet
And what you're going to figure out is insurance guys are the biggest crooks in the world.
Would you lie about the face value?
I tell this to my dad every day. He's an insurance guy.
Once you meet your deductible, don't you get 100%?
You could, yes. You could. But you got to pay the first.
Why are they crooks?
Because they finagle a bunch of stuff like this all the time. Like Justice says, they're going to charge you for everything, but then they might not give you everything back. Meaning, they're only going to give you a percentage of that back when you get hurt. But they got 100%.
Of what you already paying?
Right. Trust me, they are. I tell them every day.
It's a business.
I can't complain. Once again, rates are based off $100 units of insurance. That's really important again when you do your homework. So you're going to take that and divide it by 100. Okay? Then they talk about replacement cost policies. When you have to replace a policy, the premiums would be 10 to 15% higher. So the second time that you would do this, gives you the price of the lost piece of what it costs right now, not necessarily what you paid for it. So in some terms, this is good for you. So basically, if you could prove that you had a flat screen TV in there and it got stolen, you don't necessarily have to say what kind it was. You could just say that it was a 55-inch flat screen and you could end up getting the better version of it today, even if it's 10 years old. So sometimes we can get back at it. We like that. Obviously then, insurance company, whenever anything happens, they're gonna send somebody out and they're gonna investigate. Why it is, so, we don't have insurance fraud, right? We're not complaining about things that aren't really there. We're not making things up, basically. That's what that's saying right there. So, in my insurance premium, this is the money that I'm gonna actually pay. So this is what I would get as my bill in the mail. It's gonna tell me what I owe, and on that bill, it's going to have all those subcategories on it and what I'm covered for. Okay, so they would specifically tell you all that stuff.
There was a guy in Remsen that committed insurance fraud.
You did?
Yeah. Well,
What did he do?
He committed arson.
Oh, you started a fire at his home?
He owned the grocery store.
Oh, okay.
Majors?
Yeah, Sammy?
He started it on a fire?
Yeah, he did that on purpose.
He did?
Yeah.
I did not know
They
that.
looked into him and he did the same thing in California.
Are you kidding? Oh, that's so sad.
He
You
goes
get
from
like-
California to Remsen,
No, he
Iowa.
got the insurance money and he just
Fled the state?
I don't know.
He bolted.
What?
He's out.
He fled it.
He probably went back to California and started.
Wait,
another-
the like foreign people? Or the-
Yeah.
Oh, it's adding up now.
Because when they looked into it, the workers all said that they always had money under a floor panel in the office. And when they looked into it, the money was gone before the fire ever started, and all the cash registers were clean.
Really?
What the heck?
That is
Oh,
so
the
depressing.
snitches.
Well, he was gone.
Should have given him some insurance money.
They
He
just
was gone,
disappeared?
but they gave him insurance money.
Why would they snitch then?
Did they keep the money?
No, they
He
investigated
got
it.
away.
Yeah.
No,
The
he,
workers-
they're
the
saying,
workers didn't get the money.
The workers didn't get anything. They just worked there.
so they knew he fled because he took his money first, then burned down the place.
Some people.
So he kinda double dipped it.
Living off that, doing arson.
No, he does. He did the same thing in California.
Okay, but who moves from California to Remsen, Iowa?
Someone
He's
who
out
was-
now.
He's originally from Islam or something.
What? Yeah, no.
Islam's not a
Literally.
place, bud. Islam's a religion. You can't be from Islam.
He's like Islam.
They were like Indian, I thought.
Well, yeah, they could be Islamic.
Not from Islam.
He's from Islam. He's from India and
Yeah.
could be Islamic.
Yeah. I don't think he was actually Islamic.
That
I
little
think he
boy was funny
like,
though.
Hindu.
Alright, anyways, let's back up and get back on track here. So, my insurance premium. Here's where you're going to have some fluctuations between yours and somebody else's, maybe at work or wherever you're talking about, because it depends on location, meaning you're going to have a way different premium if you live in, if we go to Sioux City, Dakota Dunes, compared to living on 13th Street. Okay? If you live on 13th Street, you probably don't, your premiums are probably not real high. Okay, because, and then obviously what kind of coverage. So again, like Tyrell said, if I want all that stuff insured on my property, then my premium's gonna go higher and higher every time that I pick something else that I want to be insured. Here's the big thing right here. Make sure you're paying attention for this part. Every time that you round or find your premium, it's going to be round to the nearest dollar. So you will not have a decimal point for any of your answers for that. Okay? From there then, you might have other things called riders or floaters. This would be if you had certain really expensive items that you definitely wanted to be insured over and above what your regular premium said. So if you had really important jewelry, or if you had a really nice sound system in your house or whatever. Okay, so other things that they had in the book were computer systems or entertainment centers. You would just have an additional payment on that. And then we kind of mentioned this one other time. Your premium's going to go down the closer you are to a fire station. So, why? Because if your house starts on fire, Donald starts on fire, Tiff lives a block away, Donald lives 15 miles out in the country. Obviously, we got a better chance of saving Tiff's house than Donald's house if it's on fire. Okay?
So Tiff's premium will be higher?
It's gonna be low.
Lower?
Yeah, because we can,
Because there's less risk
Why
of
not
it.
premium is not given?
okay, a premium's basically your bill. And they're just gonna show you what you are going to pay. So your premiums, the amount that they would send to you and say, you signed up for blah, 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 and this is your total.
So it's like the insurance money that you're paying.
So in
You know,
Tiffany's.
this is, you're paying to the insurance.
Yeah, that's.
Yes.
So in Tiffany's.
So this is your bill. Whether it's a monthly
Maybe.
payment, bi-yearly or annual payment. Like I think I do mine all annually. So every whatever, when my cycle comes up, I get a bill. And it tells me what my new premium is.
This is a lot of money.
Well, it all depends on what you want again.
Oh,
So,
so you can choose like which ones you want.
right.
Ah.
And so like, for me, I don't have some of those dwellings and stuff because of me living in an apartment, so I have renter's insurance. But renter's insurance is actually more expensive than homeowners because all the other things aren't tied up into it, so they kind of get you with that first type. Does that make sense? Instead of going through what Tyrell said. If I wanted this one, this one, this one, but I didn't want those three, then I'm just gonna pay for these and that's my premium. That's what the premium is. Okay? So again, if I live closer and closer to a fire department, now, here's the other thing though. It also makes a big difference if your fire department's full-time or if it's volunteer. So again, you live in Remsen, you even have a fire department?
Yeah.
Volunteer fire department. So even if you live in Remsen and your house starts on fire, the siren's got to go off, everybody's got to get to the place first and then to your house. So it's a lot different than, you know, if you live in Chicago and you live right next to it, because those guys in Chicago are there all the time. Because I don't think even ours are they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure ours is.
Well, we have a couple full-time.
A couple full-time, but not everybody is,
Like
right?
3.
Right. So that's the difference there too. So like in a small town, even if you live right next door, it could take, you know, quite a bit of time.
What makes a fire department become full-time or not?
The size of the town.
Fires.
All right, what did you say?
Instead of amount of fires.
All right, so
Dry season.
renter's insurance, this is what we were just kind of talking about a little bit, Molly and I are in here. Renter's insurance is pretty much the exact same thing, but the premiums are based on the contents in your apartment. And again, usually, the basic premium for renters is a little bit more expensive than homeowners because you don't have to pay all this other stuff right down here because you don't actually own that property. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to charge you a little extra because they know that you're not going to get all the extra things that are available. Because realistically, the landowner or whoever owns the building will have their own insurance. And so basically when I pay rent to my lady, she's using a portion of that to pay her homeowner's insurance. So I'm kind of helping that out. So what happens if you get broke into, something happens at your house? How do you get money? How do you get that? How do you use your insurance policy?
Was there.
You got to prove it, right? So again, you would call in and make a claim. The insurance company would send out an adjuster. He or she would take some pictures, you know, depending on what the actual claim is. Are they going to investigate? So in the arson case, they would actually have put in some time and effort and proved, you know, whether that was right or wrong, and so on and so forth.
They couldn't get my stuff back.
You couldn't get it?
Nah, we got all our Christmas stuff sold, so they didn't know what was, because it was all wrapped up, so
Oh.
they couldn't see it.
That's horrible.
So they got like, we weren't even getting stuff that year. It was like all cash and envelopes, and they just took it.
Really?
Yeah. And so the cops just came and they recorded it and we couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
That's so sad.
So,
This is just crazy.
for basic policies, the insurance company will pay the amount of the face value of the property after the deductible. So again, Tip brought up the deductible again. What's the deductible mean?
If you need a certain amount.
Yeah, you have to pay that amount. So the amount of money you are responsible for. So if you have a $100 deductible, you have to pay the first $100. If they figured out that you didn't get something or whatever was stolen or whatever wasn't up to that $100, then you have to decide, well, do I even want to make the claim? Is it worth it? You know what I mean? Because the more claims you have, then the next year that you apply for that same thing, what's going to happen? If you're a high claim person, yours is going to go higher or be more expensive the next time. So, you know, yes, having insurance is a necessity probably, but you don't want to take advantage of it because then they're going to get you the next cycle.
Wait, so does your deductible go up?
Well, no, but your overall premium would probably go up. So then your deductible probably goes along with it. So yes, actually it probably would. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so you know how like when you get pulled over, they like tell you to like have proof of insurance or whatever?
Yep.
I thought you could choose which ones you wanted. So if you didn't want car insurance,
You have to have,
why do you just? But why? Do
you have to have certain one in car.
You have to have insurance on like
Because if you crash into somebody else's car, what are they gonna do?
Right. So you have to have that proof of insurance. If you don't, that's breaking the law. So you could go to jail right off the bat just for that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
All right, so we'll finish this up tomorrow.